He's actually breaking into my car in the parking lot. So I actually fractured my face. He fractured my face right here.
Rick Harrison was the steady voice and sharp mind behind Pawn Stars.
Although known for his razor-sharp business sense and family-oriented personality, the famous Rick Harrison found himself at the receiving end of a shocking court verdict in a lawsuit interwoven with family and business controversies. This is no made-up story, but a factual train of events as they unfold in the life of this business personality. Journey with us as we explore what led Rick to court and the aftermath. The man behind the Pawn Stars. Richard Harrison, better known as Rick Harrison, is an American entrepreneur and TV personality born on March 22, 1965, in Lexington, North Carolina. He was the son of Richard Benjamin Harrison Jr., a U.S. Navy veteran, and Joanne Rue Harrison. Richard Harrison Jr. is the younger brother of Sherry Joanne Harrison, who died at age 6, and Joseph Kent Harrison. When Rick was 2 years old, his family moved to San Diego, California, where he grew up. However, his early years were marked by struggles and health challenges as he was diagnosed with epilepsy when he was 8 years old. This news unsettled his parents because they had lost their daughter, Sherry, at the age of 6. They also had high hopes that Rick would become an engineer. These dreams became far-fetched due to his diagnosis. Because of his illness, he often missed school. He spent much time reading to catch up until he eventually dropped out of school in 10th grade. During his stay at home, he took an interest in history and was fascinated by past events. Rick advanced in his reading quest from books on pirates who discovered treasures, to Englishmen on adventure to discover hidden lands, and stories on past events. At the time when Rick had to drop out of school because of his health issues, his parents were even more upset about the development. His mother was crying when the principal plainly stated that it would be better if he were kept at home, explaining that he would not be able to learn effectively due to his constant health challenges. The news also saddened Rick, but he could do nothing about it. He had become fond of his history teacher, Mr. Anthony Newt. He enjoyed their study sessions where he would ask questions on things he found difficult to understand, and Mr. Newt would explain. Sometimes, they even discovered new things together. Rather than seeing his dropping out of school as a setback, Rick used it as fuel to learn voraciously via reading at home, especially in business and history. Rick's journey to becoming renowned on Pawn Stars was filled with challenges, but it started in his teenage days. As a teenager, Rick began working with his father, Richard Benjamin Harrison, better known as the Old Man. Since he could not attend school like the other kids, his father took him on various business trips and taught him everything he knew about business. These experiences, coupled with the knowledge he had gotten from reading books, helped him to hone his ability to evaluate the value and authenticity of items. This skill became crucial in his future career. He made a few mistakes along the way, lost some money, but all his experiences helped to shape him into a seasoned businessman the world knows him to be today. At the age of 17, Rick met Kim. A few months after dating, he asked her to be his girlfriend. He was overjoyed, never believing he would get to experience love. A few months later, Kim announced that she was pregnant. This came as a shock to Rick. A young, sickly man trying to find his place in life, never imagined he would be blessed with a child. The couple married to ensure their child would grow up in a complete home. Their first son, Corey, was born April 27, 1983. 2 years later, they welcomed their second son, Adam. However, 8 years into their marriage, they decided to separate. 9 months later, Rick met Tracy on a double-blind date. The attraction between them was instant. They fell in love and began dating. 6 months after their meeting, Tracy moved in with Rick, and 8 months later, they married. Tracy described him as a devoted man, struggling to balance work, fame, and family. The building of the Pawn legacy. In 1981, Rick and his family decided it was time for a change of scenery and relocated to Las Vegas, Nevada. Upon arrival, Rick's dad tried to find a job but failed. Hence, he resorted to opening his gold and silver coin shop. That marked the beginning of a new era for the Harrisons. In 1989, the shop officially became the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, the iconic pawn shop that would later be featured as the main setting for Pawn Stars. The early years were challenging, with Rick and his father facing tough customers and dangerous situations. However, these hardships helped Rick build a strong reputation in Las Vegas, thanks to his deep knowledge of collectibles and historical artifacts. Having a keen eye for business, Rick saw the entertainment potential in the pawn industry. Thus, he started considering the idea of a reality TV show to share the shop's daily operations with the world. After consulting with his father, he decided to proceed with the plan. After several failed efforts and many turndowns, his years of perseverance finally secured him a deal with the History Channel in 2009, and that marked the official start of the Pawn Stars show. The show gave viewers an inside look into the pawn world, showcasing intriguing deals, rare antiques, and fascinating historical stories. It featured Rick, his son Corey, his father, Old Man Harrison, and his close friend Austin Chumley Russell. Together they evaluated, bought, sold, and exchanged valuable historical items, often engaging in intense negotiations. Pawn Stars became an instant hit, propelling Rick from a local pawn shop owner to a TV personality. His unique speaking style, sharp negotiating skills, and vast knowledge quickly made him a fan favorite. Contrary to popular opinion, Rick never let his vast knowledge base evolve into a pride that would keep him from seeking help. He is rarely reluctant to consult experts when faced with items outside his expertise. This demonstrates both business caution and humility. Although his business life seemed thriving, his personal life mostly had rough turns and bends. His sail through life's journey has been anything but smooth. The journey to the courtroom. While the spotlight is usually on the jury, lawyers, and witnesses in the court, the drama leading up to the court is no less important. Many focus solely on the court proceedings. However, proper foreknowledge of the case's background is crucial in understanding the depth of every testimony and verdict. How does an established business tycoon end up at risk of losing his life's worth with a devastating court final verdict? In Nevada State Court, a civil lawsuit was filed by Joanne Harrison against her son, Rick Harrison. According to a piece of news captured by USA Today, the allegations were regarding family assets and ownership of the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. How did a complicated and highly controversial dispute arise between a mother and son, even leading to a court case? The Harrison family patriarch, Richard Harrison, mostly known as Old Man, opened the shop in 1988 with his son Rick. However, his other son, Corey Harrison, also known as Big Hoss, soon became a part of the shop and its reality show with his friend Austin Russell, also known as Chumley. The Pawn Stars reality TV series premiered on the History Channel in 2009 and has since aired about 20 seasons. Unfortunately, the family head Richard Harrison passed away at the age of 77 in 2018, and this marked a phenomenal point in the pawn shop's history. The Pawn Stars reality show was barely 10 years old at the time of his passing. Thus, Rick, his business prodigy son, took on the most responsibility for the running affairs of the shop and the show. This way, even after Richard's demise, the TV show focused on the dealings of the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. After the death of Richard Harrison, his wife, whom he had been married to for about 58 years, inherited his 49% share of the pawn shop. This was the foundation for the outrageous legal battles that plagued the star. According to a news publication released by the Las Vegas Review-Journal, the civil lawsuit, which was filed in Nevada State Court by Joanne's attorneys, named Rick Harrison the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. Business entities of the Harrison Properties, Joe Rich Properties, and a few others as defendants. The nature of the legal proceedings proved how delicate and complex a family business could be, due to the influence of financial matters which could strain healthy relationships. Unfortunately, the Harrison family could not escape this plight, as the legal tussle put their family bonds under strain and scrutiny. Especially the mother and son relationship between Joanne and her son, Rick Harrison. The allegations raised by Joanne in the lawsuit accused the Pawn star Rick Harrison of a breach of contract, claiming that Rick had failed to provide her with accurate documentation of the business's finances. In her claims, she also accused Rick of not properly accounting for over $500,000 worth of cash and silver, which she believed her late husband had accumulated before his death. These allegations Joanne made had put Rick in a negative, but they were not as bad as the next one that followed. Rick's mother also alleged that he took advantage of her comatose state and her early post-comatose state. She was severely ill and was hospitalized between 2000 and 2001. Shortly after she woke up from the coma, she claimed that Rick made her sign her 51% interest share in the pawn shop over to him. In her allegations, she stated that she did not fully understand what she was signing then, and he took advantage of that. Joanne also added that Rick had stopped sending her money from her late husband's share of the business, a practice he had been keeping to. Her claims captured that he used to send her a regular payment of $25,000, but stopped in 2020. Reports said she was trying to reinstate that allowance through the court. Do you think that was the end? Hold on, there is more. Joanne Harrison did not just make a few mild allegations in a lawsuit, several aggressive allegations followed. The nature of this proved that an intense undertone of family disputes was in play. Another shocking reveal that followed raised concerns about Rick's wealth being in danger. Reports revealed that Rick's mother filed a temporary restraining order against her son, Rick, to stop him from selling any family assets or performing any other actions that would diminish her stake in the family business. The restraining order was also set to stop him from transferring and concealing cash assets or taking any other such actions without the foreknowledge of his mother. A severe cause of concern was that the lawsuit also asked for unspecified damages, a complete account of all the assets he controlled, threatening his accrued net worth. The request also included a court order to stop Rick from using his mother's money and a binding order for him to release any control over her property through a constructive trust. To add to the already dramatic report of events, a part of Joanne's request to the court also captured a note that said that while Rick enjoyed the comfortable life that came with being a celebrity and being in sole control of all the family businesses, Joanne is left in fright and uncertainty of whether she would have enough resources to pay for her monthly medical and personal expenses. An article reported the fact that Joanne was well over 80 years old and had several health challenges that needed routine checks, which could cost as much as $15,000 per month. This drew the deep empathy of many following the story and raised concerns about Rick's handling of the family businesses and affairs. While many, mostly his fans, feared that his wealth was endangered, others feared his real self. These new allegations that were brought to light severely questioned everything that was known and believed by many about the character and personality of the Pawn star. Did he do that? Is there a darker side to him that his fans and well-wishers have been prevented from seeing all along? Who is the man, Rick Harrison? These questions arose as the lawsuit progressed. It became evident that a severe family tussle had been initiated, and the worst was yet to come. You're yet to see the most intriguing part of the story. Keep watching as we delve deeper to consider Rick's responses, the supposed court proceedings that should follow, and the final verdict. Rick's response and the tragedy that followed. While many had been quick to draw their conclusions emotionally without proof, others who were more rational awaited an official response from Rick and the supposed court proceedings that were to follow. How did Rick respond to all the allegations? His responses were shockingly beyond anything one could have imagined, questioning the validity of every allegation. In an interview where Rick was questioned concerning the case, he said that the accusations were untrue and that he believed his mother, who was 81 years old at the time, was being influenced by others for their benefit. A surprising part of his response was that he claimed to have only learned about the restraining order request from news reports. After this, he tried to contact her many times over the past few months, but to no avail. An astounding fact revealed that one of the companies Rick's mother was suing was completely owned by her. While faced with questions concerning the allegations, the Pawn Star appeared genuinely confused by his mother's lawsuit. After Rick's response came to public light, new speculations arose, and the picture became clearer. Rick mentioned that his mother was 81 years old and lived in a separate residence from him. Considering these facts led many to believe the allegations were untrue. It was only an aggressive effort from a third party bent on rattling Rick, the family, and the business. After all, to the best of public knowledge, no court proceedings followed, and solid evidence was never provided to back up the claims. It is unlikely that Joanne Harrison, who also goes by the name Joanne Ju, had filed those complaints as earlier suggested, especially considering how baseless they were. Then there was the surprising fact that the Pawn Star had only learned about the allegations through a news report. The details didn't seem to be adding up to paint a believable picture. Amongst the many speculations and uncertainties that arose, the valid conclusion many came to was to disbelieve all the alleged claims and wait to see if any actual court proceeding would follow. While the dust from this tussle began to settle, a more heart-shattering tragedy struck Rick Harrison, a factual and proven devastating occurrence. Despite Pawn Star's many challenges, life didn't get easy for him. Rather, he received a fatal blow from one of life's surprise packages. On the 19th of January 2024, Rick Harrison tragically lost his 39-year-old son to the cold grips of death. Adam, his son, was confirmed by a public information officer in Clark County, Nevada, to have died of an overdose of fentanyl and methamphetamine. The Clark County Office of the Medical Examiner classified the death to have been accidental. The official stated cause of his death was toxicity caused by the two substances that were in his system. Before Adam was discovered dead, someone close to his residence had noted his unusual absence since the 17th of January and informed the landlord, who found him unresponsive. This prompted a call to law enforcement, which eventually led to the confirmation of his death. This was a heartbreaking occurrence that went far beyond any family feud. Sharing his thoughts on the opioid epidemic through TMZ, Rick said that the fentanyl crisis in the country must be taken seriously. Faced with the tough loss of an offspring, the Pawn Star's trader was struggling to cope with the loss and trying to move on. 2 days after the news of Adam's death was confirmed, Rick shared a soulful post on his Instagram account, capturing a photo of himself and his son, Adam, at a restaurant. The post had a caption that said, "You'll always be in my heart, and I love you, Adam." A broken heart emoji was attached at the end of the caption. Following Rick's emotional Instagram post about his son's death, many netizens and well-wishers offered their sympathy and condolences. Donald Trump Jr. was one among the well-wishers who left a condolence comment saying, "I'm so sorry, man." Adam's elder brother, Corey, also shared their childhood photo on his Instagram page with a caption that said, "I'll always love you, Bubba." On the 22nd of January, a spokesperson for the family, Laura Herlovich, made an official statement on Adam's death, confirming his death to have been from a fentanyl overdose. She added that the family is deeply saddened by his demise, and that the public should respect their privacy as they mourn. Although Adam was not featured on the Pawn Stars show during his lifetime, there were reports that he worked at Gold and Silver Pawn for a while before becoming a plumber. Corey also once explained that Adam didn't seem interested in being on the TV show. What followed? Death or a life sentence? While it seemed the dust had settled regarding Rick Harrison and his mother's alleged legal battle, another unsettling revelation was disclosed. Rick's mother, Joanne, was featured on a nerve-tickling website, Find a Grave. The website lists her as buried at Palm Memorial Park Northwest in Las Vegas, Nevada. While this information lingers on their website, there is no family or trusted source disclosure regarding the confirmation of her death. It appears that Find a Grave's information may not be correct about her burial, although the website also included a memorial ID of 321434474. A fresh wave of speculations began about whether Joanne Harrison had passed on. Many believe that this explains the certainty of Rick Harrison's response when he seemed genuinely confused at the questions that his mother had filed a lawsuit against him. Another catch is that the Find a Grave website also features information contributors could have added. This depicted that someone could have added that entry even though it was inaccurate. Given the status and influence of the Harrison family empire, the news of their matriarch's passing would most likely have made many news headlines. Thus, confirmation from reliable sources is needed before it can be ascertained. Richard Harrison, Joanne's late husband, is buried at Palm Memorial Park Northwest, and this has been confirmed. News sources think that if Joanne Harrison is alive and kicking, it is most likely that the Harrison family matriarch shares a strained relationship with her son, Rick Harrison. A few people continued to ask questions about Joanne, although Rick, grieving the loss of his son, Adam, did not respond publicly. The Pawn Star honored his son online, without mentioning his mother, Joanne, or her lawsuit and restraining order. While the outcome of her lawsuit hasn't been made public, some proven facts about Rick's mom have been verified. Joanne Rue married Richard Harrison in 1960, and they shared 4 children, the elder being Rick the Pawn Star. He was named after his father, but for a distinction, he mostly went by the name Rick instead of the full form. Joanne and her husband, the late Richard Harrison, had 2 other sons besides Rick and a daughter, Sherry, who lost her life in a battle with Down syndrome at the age of 6. Their 2 other sons, who are still alive, are Chris Harrison and Joseph Harrison. Meanwhile, news of Rick Harrison breaking down after receiving a life sentence has circulated over the internet. When did this happen? Well, this turned out to be rumors. The iconic Pawn Star rose over and beyond the challenges and sorrows that had plagued his life, remaining positive and honing his focus on his work. Although rather than his full-time work at the pawn shop, he now works part-time. He also stars in Pawn Stars shows like the Pawn Stars spin-off and Pawn Stars Do America, along with Austin Lee Russell. The infamous Pawn Star is revealed to be in a semi-retirement phase in his life, spending time with his loved ones and grandchildren, as opposed to the rumors of life imprisonment some netizens were spreading. What are your thoughts on the controversies surrounding the iconic Pawn Star legend? Share them in the comments. If you have found this video enlightening and clarifying, please leave a thumbs up, subscribe for more content like this, and hit the notification bell so you'll always be updated on our new video releases. See you in the next video.